appropriate word. I would say more concern would be the appropriate word. That we have to, those guys learned a lot in that game, and they got to get better. If we go to that bench and Charles isn't there, we got to have a better play off the bench, especially on defense. And offense, shot selection, the whole deal.
Go ahead, Chris.
A couple things, Charles' status and the fact that he didn't make all Big Ten defensive team again.
Yeah, that was a bit of it. That was surprising, but that's always been a great motivating factor for everybody. So people are watching a different game than I'm watching, obviously, with Charles. I mean, just he's had some rough offensive moments. The guy has never had a bad defensive game, and he's taking care of everybody. So how many people were on that team? Five. If he's not one of the 5 best, then there must be besides there must be 4 really good defenders out there. That's all I can say.
And then what's his status for the weekend?
He practiced yesterday, and he went to the full practice. So
okay.
We'll wait and see what he can do today.
And then were there similarities?
Not certainly at 100%, but he was able to. He hasn't been able to go to full practice yet.
Okay. And then were there similarities that you saw on film between the 2 losses to Michigan State?
Yeah, obviously there's going to be some. There's going to be some, but the big issue was when things start going south offensively for us. That's when our defense goes south immediately, and that's a sign of a lot of young teams, right? And we just showed that. You know, we got caught a couple of times with freshmen and sophomores in rotations that they're both playing hard, but they're both running at the same guy and leaving some people open. It happened like 3 straight times. They're playing so hard. They're trying so hard for Michigan, but they don't say, I got them, and they both got them, and then going to stand there looking at a 3. Or McQuaid's missing one, and they're going in and getting the rebound because somebody's wide open, right? Or McQuaid's got a wide open 3. So it's just communication that just happens. And you know what happened this time of the year, but it happens with young teams, young players.
Over here with Andrew.
Even after the last regular season game of the season, you're talking about if we learn from this, it's a good thing. I guess, you know, at what point in the season, if ever, is it like, okay, these mistakes need to be fixed now, or, you know, there's just not much time left? Do you ever have that message to players? Like, you know, okay.
Of course. And then that's part of life, that you learn it. If you don't learn it, you live with it, and then hopefully the following year those same mistakes aren't being made, because we don't have a film session coming up after the last game. There's not a film session, so they don't have to listen to it anymore. But many times that the next year that will come out big time for you. But there's some things that they're not intentionally not making mistakes. Their minds have to think quicker. And if they're not capable of thinking quicker, no matter how many drills that you do, they're not going to do it. You know, they're just not going to do it. And so there is going to be a time. I can tell you the guys that you thought they have no chance, right? Did anybody think at the end of freshman year Xavier Simpson would be first team All Big Ten, and right? Did anybody ever dream of that? There's a time it all slows down and they get it, and it's not coaching, it's not technique, it's not film study, it just takes time. Some players more than others. So you're always warning them that they won't like the feeling, but sometimes maybe thinking about it for 8 months afterwards, then they might get a little bit more.
Thanks.
John, somewhat along those lines, what do you need from Jordan right now to maybe unlock something for your offense?
Yeah, well, you're talking offense. Yeah, I think I've seen some really good improvements in his shot selection compared to some of the times earlier in his career, and I think his defense has been more consistent in some pretty good games. He's done some really good. I thought he did a great job on McQuaid at times the other day. Right, he did a great job on the kid from the shooter capture. I always forget his name. Minnesota kid. No, Gauscher. Yeah, he did a great job on him. And so there's those moments. I think one of the biggest issues right now is logging so many minutes. It gets in his way a little bit. It affects his defense and affects his offense as well. And we're trying to cut that down, but when we're down Charles and then you're in foul trouble, it's hard to keep him off the floor.
Do you feel like with his sort of unique skill set, though, offensively, he can really, if he maybe can be pressure or whatever it is, or during more you guys offensively can really start to.
No, there's no question. I mean, his pick and roll numbers in our team are very good. In fact, our pick and roll numbers are really, really good, really good. But the other things, he's a better shooter than 32 or 33%. So that shot selection sometimes people keen on him. So he's going to have to really become really adept Matt McQuaid does a tremendous job of deception to get open. JP's got to do better at tricking people to get open, right? And so that comes with fourth-year player, second-year player. That comes with time. The coaches aren't going to call a play to get you open. You got to execute that play by being deceptive.
Is it a little bit like Tim's sophomore year? Remember when he had
Yeah.
poorly, or is it different?
Yeah, no, it would, Tim could really get his shot even better than JP could. And he didn't have to go step back, he could just rise over you. And so, but Tim gradually, the game slowed down in that junior year where his numbers had gone down. Of course, he was playing next to Trey Burke, which is a lot like playing next to Xavier. But yeah, Tim really slowed down, and he did more by doing less.
Over here with John.
If Charles is able to go, and I don't know if you know how much time he'll be able, but what adjustments do you have to make?
Well, first of all, we started. That would be the first question, right? And who are we playing? How do they play, right? What's the matchup like? So we sort of got to go through that. And how was he in practice the last couple of days? And then what's his role coming off the bench? And how does he even give JP more rest? Can we find a way just to get him in there? Because we virtually had one real experienced player on the court the other night against Michigan State. I mean, one guy, Xavier. There was nobody out there that really had been in this game for 10 or 20 minutes at a time. They had little cameo performances. He's been in there. So how can we get him on the floor in any way? Because I love what Isaiah gives us, Iggy at the same time, and maybe there's a solution there as well. So we're working at all that stuff, but when you don't know whether you're going to play or not, it's hard.
Jacob?
With Cassius having the success he did on Saturday, what have you seen from Xavier just in the aftermath?
I don't care if it was a man in the moon. He has a guy score on him like that. He's not happy, right? And we're not happy. But it also, you got to take your hat off and say he's a heck of a player. They got a great plan, right? The Michigan State offense has changed dramatically since the injuries, and they're really, their offense is very hard for everybody to guard right now. When you're in a ball screen 3 or 4 times on one time down the court, right? And they got shooters at every position. It's really hard to guard that, and so it's not just Xavier, it's the whole team has to help in that whole situation. And we had sometimes he was perfect on him, but the backside stuff stunk, and that's what cost us many times. But go ahead, Jacob.
I know it's not just. You said it's not just.
Yeah.
It's not just Xavier, but do you think he takes that personally a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. He's the most personal guy ever. He takes every matchup very personally. That's why it's painful for him, and he will. But guess what? He's going to guard the. He's guarded and will continue to guard the best point guards in the country, and he's had a great success rate on that, over his time at Michigan. So we love that matchup, and if it doesn't work out sometimes, it doesn't work out.
Ryan?
Over the course of Charles' absence, do you think that the team has unlocked anything with Isaiah?
I think it's really good what Isaiah has given us. I think he's really made some good plays. He's an elite shooter, where Charles is a good shooter. I think Isaiah's an elite shooter, so it spreads us out a little bit more when people would be gapping off of Charles. I think that's the good thing. And now I think that we have also learned what Isaiah can do in these situations, so we could dial him up a little bit, or use his matchup a little bit differently. So that's helped us a lot. It's also, we played through Iggy a little bit more during that time, and those games when Charles was up, Iggy had some really good numbers. And so there's a lot of rising in the whole thing that's happened because of the injury, but we want him back badly.
James?
John, just from your experience, I guess, what do you feel are the ingredients that kind of make a good tournament team?
I think luck is a really big ingredient to have right now, that you got to go in there, and sometimes the ref has to be ready to make a foul call, and